Hey everybody, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Hey, I have some errands and stuff that I have to do, and I've been working a lot, and I've just had, with my radio show and just doing some of this other collaborative work. Think collaborative. Yeah, and so I'm with the big shift changes that have been happening, and anyway, yeah, so just, wanted to do maybe a driving video since I really haven't had time to do any kind of, like video lately, and just kind of in deep contemplation. So I'm going to try to do 2 videos this morning on my jamming around. I still could use donations to help me get north. Really want to try to go north. I'm in Reno, so way north, up the west. Around my birthday trip. Would like to be at my destination by Christmas, so that would be 7 days from my birthday, December 18th. And, so just thinking about a lot of different stuff. I'm taking the Steiner courses, a little behind on them. I'm going to get caught up today. Just thinking about a lot of things, a lot about the second chakra energy system and how that keeps us stuck and manipulated and controlled, and then other, a lot of time manipulating and controlling others, and so just a lot of things I've been thinking about. I want to talk about shamanism a little bit, that has to do with like the Ark of the Covenant and things of that nature. And also talk about this morning. So I woke up. So last night, early on, is when I was going into that void between the waking dream and the sleeping dream, or the, daydream or the night dream, between that void. And the whole night was, up until about 3 a.m. And then I woke up at 3 a.m. The smart meters were, being off the hook. So kind of, where I'm kind of staying. So I've been awake since 3, which is fine. Taking a lot of essential fatty acids to kind of combat some of that stuff. So okay, so where to start? So last night, the whole thing, and then when I woke up and was thinking about what they, shamans or people who've crossed over, who helped me with information. And so the whole thing was about going backwards, that here in this world we spend our physical lives going backwards, that everything is about the backwards. And so it ties into a lot of the stuff about, the same energies and powers are used. Some may be used for light, some may be used from dark. And learning from a lot of my native teachers and shamanism work, it's about being in the middle, in the balance, and utilizing whatever's necessary for whatever's necessary. And also observing and watching systems play out so that you don't become a pawn in that system, right? You don't get used up. So, hold on a second. I gotta pull out. All right, so backwards. So because of the system that we're living in, this also ties into shamanism as well. And so, they were talking to me about how, like I've been in a backwards system, because of the groundwork of the, some of the training and the post-traumatic stress disorder events that they've, unleashed on me, like my private practice and discrediting me and trying to arrest me and, just total, complete BS. So, you have this thing where you need money, you need a job, but usually the jobs you're going to be successful at, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually successful at, taking the money out, are not going to be the jobs that actually pay the money, because the money is part of the black magic, which is the spell, which is the reverse. So how many times have you thought about, a lot of the magical spells are done in reverse, like are done into mirrors, things in mirrors coming out, which would be backwards, right? If you wrote a language, put it on a paper, and you wrote it backwards, you would have to see it going forward in the mirror, right? So then it comes along into some of this Toltec type of shamanism work that sorry, I didn't mean to crash you. So some of the, Toltec type shamanism type work about the smoky mirror, and that, basically a veil, or, whatever else that, we want to actually call that. And so things are not clear. And so, this is not about, rising the light against the dark, because you rise the light against the dark has to come up by nature, by force, by the way that the 2D scenario plays out here. And it has to take the light down. And then, the dark rises, and by nature, the force, then you have to have the, light rise up, and battle it down. And the problem is that we get stuck in the battle, which can come back to, ideas of the third chakra. I call it the third chakra battle, because that's where your will is, and your will never win anything. You have to get past your will through the bridge of the heart, let's say, just in chakra. I have to put things kind of into terms, I think, that people could understand, and I have to put things into terms that I can understand. And so if I talk about the chakras, which I don't really see the chakras as a lot of people see the chakras. I see the chakras in a whole, totally different kind of way. But you have to get to your divine will and out of the physical. So, from the first three chakras, they are, this world related governing, to help keep your body system going, and keep a lot of, those kinds of things happening, and kind of keep you in your body. And then you get to the heart, and the heart is the bridge, right? You have to walk across the bridge to the other side. So here we go again, one side versus the other, right? The bridge between two, or like I see the seesaw sometimes, and being in the middle, so it's not going like this. So anyway, back to the theme of backwards. So that was the theme last night, that we had like a long education thing, and I'm still working on it, because there was, probably like, 20 feeds of information that come in sometimes simultaneously. And then last night they went into actually kind of, I think, showing me physical, things. So I may do a couple videos on this idea this morning. So we're going backwards because of the spelling, right? The spelling, the language, the money, which they've taken from, one thing and concept and turned it into something else. And we could say that they've taken the positive carbon, the forms, and they've, started creating the negative carbon and making those forms. Or we can say that they've taken the natural state of things, the free energy and natural, things that could power things, and now they're moving it into a digital. But it's been receding into this digital, into this ground, right? And we're not watching it, and we're not, really paying attention to how, not only is it overlapped, but now it's starting to recede, the natural into a digital. So there's a lot of, thoughts that I think about, as I'm pulling some of this stuff together. And so because it's backwards, it's the opposite. So the money, because you need money to pay your bills, because the system has become, we could say, a darker force, a digital force, a negative carbon environment, digital environment, which, has taken over the natural environments. And so that system is a backward system. And so we're constantly going backwards in our lives. So what, you go forward by moving and being nomadic, right? But you stay stuck and going backwards if you're in the same house for half of your lifetime. If you have to pay a mortgage and pay bills to all these other people because you need all of these supposed communication devices, because it's pulling you away from your natural ability to communicate, or your abilities to communicate that are hidden or primordial and not awakened or, shifted. So I don't think it's about okay, we have to battle it, but I think we have to recognize that, before, that was cold. Anyway, before, and when before was doesn't really matter. A lot of the stuff doesn't really matter, but going back to kind of the natural states and getting out of the backwards negative carbon forms that have been created, getting into the positive carbon forms. So the money makes you go backwards because you need the money, and it makes you stay stuck, and it makes you do things, and it makes you compromise yourself, and it makes you tired, and it makes you sick. But there's a lot of other things, owning a house. If you have to pay for that, and you need the money. You need a job. You need to work for someone else. All of these things keep you from moving forward. And, is it scary out there putting a pack on your back and cruising around and checking out things? Yeah, it's going to be pretty scary. I've had some pretty scary situations that have happened. But I've also had, things that, I don't know why the windows are open in the car. It shouldn't be. But I've also had these, mind-blowing remembrances and shifts in not only my consciousness, but my body. And so it all comes together, right? That's why you got to stay in balance, because you get the good and the bad. It's all kind of happening simultaneously. It's just you have to stay out of one side and kind of be in the middle on the seesaw, so it's not going up and down. And you're being able to pay attention to everything that's stalking you, that's trespassing you, that is moving around you. So backwards. having a solid place to live for 30 years and having to make money and pay a mortgage and all this other stuff is a very backwards movement. That's why welfare works so well, is because, it keeps you going backwards. It keeps you draining instead of filling. And that's a very shamanism thing, is filling your field so that you can stay alive, right? So I've talked about this a lot, about a lot of the people that, make appointments with me for shamanism type work. Especially health, the number one thing I see is that they have liquidated their energy body, and it's becomes like saran wrap, and it starts to suffocate them to death. So I don't see people dying of disease or whatever in this world. And just the fact that they make names for all these things that could be potentially wrong with you, and then they have an assortment of medicines to give you, is backwards. You're going backwards. It's a backwards system we're living in, and you're never going to get on top of it, and you're never going to get forward, and you're never going to get there unless you let go of that focus of what you need or have to have, blah, 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 which has you chained on the treadmill that's going backwards. So backwards is just never going to work, no matter what you do. Believe me, I have, I have attempted in a kayak to push the river upstream for a long time, and keep going over it and over it and over it and over it, trying to figure out, what I've missed. Right? Trying to figure out the piece that I've missed. And the whole thing is that it doesn't work. It's not working. And this is the other part, is that we are sold, shh, no. That's no. Yeah, no. That's no. We're sold, this whole like attracts like, but we're sold to it like, you can have whatever life you want. You want to have a golden palace with a swimming pool? Yeah, that's gonna work. Yeah, but the thing is that they don't talk to us about is how like supports us going backwards. So if you're trying to figure out what piece you're missing in order to make money or get that job, which you're not going to get, because once you wake up, it's like the system knows you're sort of awake, and it will abuse you for that, even if you don't really know what's going on yet. It will abuse you for that because it's backward energy. So the moment that you start thinking forward energy, then the system, it works harder at towing you down the river, right? It picks up speed and current, kind of a situation. So anything that you're dealing with in the negative, what you need, I need to get groceries. So you keep thinking about that all day, every day. And then the thing is that then you realize, now I can't get groceries because now I don't have enough money to get the groceries. I had to take 4 days off work because I was sick. And then now I can't get the groceries that I need. And so that need in the backwards, spirals out of control. I need to get a place to live. Well, then everything negative is going to happen to you because it's the backflow from you being able to get the place to live. So the like attracts like works in the negative, and it actually works stronger in the negative, in the backward flow, the going backwards, than it does in the positive flow. And this is the thing. There's no fucking way, excuse my language, but that you're going to be able to be in the backward flow of life, needing whatever you need, and be able to hold your thoughts long enough that something positive is going to happen. Yeah, maybe you'll have like a moment of relief, you know, where you're like in the middle, but you're going to be back out there in the current, trying to, you know, keep your kayak upstream. So, what are the answers? I don't know. I think for me, you know, really contemplating this backwards situation today, really thinking about it, it's really about, you know, the neutrality, you know, like Buddha talked about, and like a lot of my shamanism teachers talk about, you know, it's about the neutrality, becoming neutral and not allowing the 2D seesaw no matter what it is. I have, I don't have. I don't have is going to be stronger, because that's the backwards, the dark, backwards, whatever you want to call it, the negative. It's becoming stronger because it's overlapped the system and it's receding the natural, good, light, positive system. You know, like a computer virus. Like, you don't really notice it at first. And then once it kind of gets hold of your computer, it just shuts everything down in a way that literally you can't move forward. And then what do? We're like, well, I have to work and make money. So F that. Now I'm like in stress because now I need a new computer because this computer doesn't work. Instead of going, okay, well, you know what? Maybe, you know, it's just really time to let go and go nomadic and see what happens, right? Because fixed is backwards. Nomadic is forward. And there are only two choices in every matter as I see it, in which, you know, power you want to feed, right? Or you can be in the middle and choose not to feed anything for a period of time, which is your right. These are your rights. These are what you can do, and not to go backwards. Yeah, so it's interesting. The backwards thing is very, very, very interesting to me. And, you know, even though that I try super hard and I work really hard energetically not to go backwards or have any of these, you know, I don't even know what to call them, stuck holding tactics, you know, of the system, you know, trying to stay as neutral as possible. I still keep, you know, finding things like, you know, being released from the van was kind of a bit of an anchor, because I just couldn't make enough money, you know, and whatever, you know, money and help I did get, it went into the van, and it just, after 8 years of, and it was a used van, just got to where you just couldn't do it anymore. And so I had a feeling of a lot of failure. And that's because I'm going backwards, right? And I'm doing things in the backwards, and I'm expecting things like to go forward, and they're not going to go forward because I'm in the negative. I'm in the backwards. And things are, you know, going backwards. So there is no forward movement. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to talk to you about that today. And yeah, so might have some more conversations about this in the future. So anyway, Virgilian Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics, and Urban Farm Project. And that's it. That's all I got for you. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.